Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to the panel, The Greener, the Better, towards more sustainable cultural events and film festivals, held within the frame of the 33rd edition of the Trieste Film Festival that tonight comes to its end after 7 days of many screenings and sidebar events. It is a great pleasure and an honor to host this panel on such an important topic, the sustainability, on which as a festival we've been strongly focusing on in the past 2 years, together with the national and also international networks we are part of. AFIC, the Association of Italian Film Festivals, and MIOB, Moving Images Open Borders, the European Film Festival network we are part of. We are very happy to have managed to organize today's discussion and to have had the opportunity to include all the panelists that will intervene this afternoon. So thank you all for having accepted our invitation. I wish to thank, first of all, Creative Europe Desk Italy on the person of Silvia Sandrone, with whom we have organized this afternoon webinar. And I want to thank also all the attendees, since the intention of this afternoon, of this meeting, is to exchange best practices, ideas, and to listen to the position of the institutions on such an important path that we all have. Not only cultural events to start or continue, which is the attention to the impact that events like ours have on the natural environment, and not only on that. I don't want to steal time to the panelists, so I leave the virtual stage first to Silvia Sandrone from Creative Europe, and then to our splendid moderator, Nevina Satta, CEO of the Sardinia Commission Foundation. And thank you and enjoy the webinar. And I send you all the greetings from all the staff of the Trieste Film Festival.
Thank you, Monica, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our guests and participants. Our desk is the, as you might already know, is the promotion office in Italy of the Creative Europe program. We are based in Turin, and we also have other 2 offices, one in Rome and in Bari. And when the festival proposed us to organize a panel on the topic of sustainability, we really welcomed these initiatives, since, as you have seen from the video, one of the priorities of the new program, which was launched last June, is greening the audiovisual industry. Actually, this is the second panel on this topic that we organized. The first one took place last year in collaboration with the Culture Office, which is also part of the Creative Europe Desk Italy. And this is why we believe it's really important to share good practices and present projects that have been supported by Creative Europe, as well as networks like you will meet today. And it's also important to have an update from the institution at European and national level. Before leaving the floor to Nevina, I just would like to add that recently, on the 13th of January, the European Commission has adopted the 2022 annual work program of Creative Europe. And the budget will be 385.6 million, which is an increase compared to the budget of last year. So Creative Europe is reinforcing its support to the culture and creative sectors, also taking into account the challenges resulting from the COVID crisis and also the global competition. Now that the work program has been launched, we are also expecting the publication of the call for proposal that should follow in the next weeks. So maybe also Lauriane probably will tell something more about that. And so I give the floor to Nevina, and of course I'm available for questions afterwards, if any. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Silvia. It's exciting and great to be here. It's a very interesting opportunity that we have here. We are sharing our best practices. We're mostly, I hope, sharing our visions and dreams for the future in the favor of a completely different approach. After 2 years of pandemics, some of us are still struggling a little bit about that. We finally can go back and focus on the amazing pipeline that is awaiting thanks to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that the UN and our nations have approved to follow and encourage. Clearly, we are here, and I cannot thank enough Monica Gotti, the amazing team of Alpe Adria Cinema, but also I must thank really Carolina Stera has been organizing this panel incredibly well, and the team has been doing a terrific work, because we all have in mind the main goal of today is to give us the time to think and share even crazy thoughts, bad ideas, best practice, but also the possibility that we move from the challenges that the pandemic has forced us to resolve every day to that attitude that humankind sometimes rediscover, which is put creativity at the service of the best conditions for the community. And not only the human community, but the living community of this planet. So we want to be extremely ambitious today. We are taking a very narrow point of view on the creative industries and the possibility of understanding what has been done so far. What are the cases that can inspire each of us in different ways? How can public institutions, and we'll go to see what is available, what are the instruments already in place, or those that are cooking as we speak, or those that have not yet been put in place, but there is work going on them, so that we become not only the, let's say, co-spirator of revolutionary models in each region, in each town, in each community, but most of all, we really become the advocate of a positive approach to the planet and the life on Earth, as extremely creative, extremely respectful. In the video that opened this conversation and our meeting, it was very clearly stated new priorities. And we all recognize the power of the images where the word diversity, inclusion comes in, but also the word green. That was a little bit of a standoff for me. I was like, oh, look, we're still talking about green, but we all must talk about sustainability. That includes, as we know, financial and economic sustainability of production strategies for our workforce, sustainability of the quality of life, go back to a sense and the responsibility of investment in the capabilities of the communities, and not only in their capacity of create income and financial resources. And last but not least, sustainability towards the environment that includes relationship and respect of the other living communities. It's a great moment. We are never been so exposed to scientific research, scientific results, to centers of excellence of every possible advancement and progress in technology. We have been strongly engaging towards cohesion policies. Never as this year, there has been a global investment in the perfection, in the improvement towards really innovative models of cohesion policies. So now it's up to us to give to these spectrum of voluntary work, institutional commitment, citizens' commitment, a beauty. We must understand how we can push beauty that surrounds us, the beauty of creation, the beauty of talent, the celebration of the beauty of the world. How can we make this organically embedded in how we organize the cultural events, how we push the creative community to consider itself center and part of this revolutionary transformation? We have been going through really a lot of struggles. Many of those that represent our community are still struggling financially. They don't want to hear the word well-being until the basic guarantee of reaching sustainable models of everyday life can be supported. So our goal here is not just to fantasize abstractly about how can we do better, what can we build together, but also this consistent capacity of looking towards the future, of nourishing together our vision, and at the same time feel all the responsibility we have to be witnesses of the needs of our communities. So it's exciting, and I am happy that we can, of course, talk as public bodies, private investors, talents, as cultural association organizers. You know that there is an ongoing investment that was not true 10 years ago on sustainability, on greening the industry and our activities. There is also a lot of greenwashing going out there. We know it. So keep in mind that we're not going to just sell the good side of the world, but there is always the flip coin. And there is also the possibility of being there, guarding and pushing for strong and authentic motivation to do so. We will start from what is available at the European level. And I think we could have not get the best guest, but Lauriane Bertrand. Thank you, Lauriane, from the DG Connect Media Support Program of Creative Europe Media. And of course, talking directly from the European Commission. Thank you for being here, Lauriane.
Thanks a lot, Nevina. It's my pleasure to be here. Let me go back. Can you hear me? Actually, I have a problem with my sound.
We can hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. So thanks a lot. Very happy to talk in your panel. Very happy to take part in the event of the Trieste Film Festival. My mom is coming from Trieste, so I wish I was there sul posto with you. As rightly mentioned also by Silvia, since 2020, greening is a priority of the Commission, an action of the Media and Audiovisual Action Plan, and an horizontal priority of the media program. With the work program that is just out, as mentioned. We see it not only as a desirable goal to decarbonize the industry, but also as a lifeline out of the crisis. We perfectly understand that the sanitary crisis has hit extremely hard the sector, and we do not aim at adding an extra layer of obligation to the professionals or to the producers in particular. This is not our idea. Therefore, to tackle the subject altogether, we launched a stakeholder dialogue dedicated to the topic. It is called Greening the Audiovisual Industry. We launched it in June 2021. Straight from the first meeting, we realized that the discussions revolved a lot around two topics that were first, carbon impact and calculation of this carbon impact, and second, green labels for production. There are so many positive initiatives on both topics coming either from national authorities, private players, association,
commissions.
Yeah. Well, commission, we're joining the game a bit later, but there are already so many positive initiatives yet uncoordinated. And we see from what was discussed that the lack of coordination is possibly hindering the use of this mechanism and ultimately efficiency of this mechanism. Therefore, we had restricted meetings with existing calculator. So we're super glad that there was a lot of enthusiasm, and we counted in Albert, that is a UK initiative but used in Europe, the German calculator MFG, the French initiative EcoProd, Carbon Clap EcoProd. We also had a Swedish Runifrich, local initiative like the Pro Malaga, and also projects of initiatives at European level like Eureka.
Even I would say the Trentino Green Film, now that has been implemented in many European regions.
Trentino has been leading the way, and they have been so inspiring, but we had limited the participants to this working group. But definitely the contribution of Trentino on the topic is enormous. And so in this working group, it seems that there is an appetite to work together as long as we do not aim at replacing any other system. We rather see that if we were to develop a tool, this would be a transition tool, transition towards the most sophisticated tool that already exists, also a transition in between two tools. I mean,
we are operating in a continent, and we know that co-productions are a super powerful vehicle. Imagine if one day there were strict requirements to receive support. How do you do with a co-production, for example? If one producer is used to a system, we already have some national system linked with special measurement tool. We miss a lingua franca. So that's what we intend to do at European level. And again, not replacing what already exists. The idea would be that if we develop a tool, it would not add any burden for the producer. So while you would fill in your usual calculator, you would also be able to receive a result in the European methodology. And this would, of course, require to agree on a list of parameter, units, and database. We would operate on a minimal common denominator approach. So that's the project. We are working hard for this. We'll have a dedicated event in the context of the online European film market. Our event is scheduled on the 14th of February from 9:30 until 11. I hope that by then we are able to announce that there is an agreement from the calculator that were involved in the discussions. That's our objective, and I hope I can come back to you soon with some more results to present.
Oh, Lauriane, we absolutely, now you, first of all, thank you for the save the date, which is crucial. I think everybody here is going to participate on the 14th of February. It's an opportunity, and what you're saying is fantastic, because on one end, we are stating the truth. There is not going to be the final solution for a game that has just, let's say, started collectively. And I think it's important that the emphasis on trying to find a lingua franca where we can actually collect the data and start comparing the results has been true for cultural events, music festivals, all initiatives that really wanted to connect sectors that started searching for a more efficient use and consumption of energy, the restoration of hotels and restaurants, for instance, led in Europe, a creation of various systems of grading the eco-sustainability of the structures. And also there, we know that they're struggling to get one tool in place, but the transition tool is absolutely crucial so that we can have the conversation going further. And this is so true, Lauriane. I think you can give us even more information on also the conversation you guys are having with the other European institutions, not forgetting that the EU Parliament has a program of gigantic financial support at all levels of the main strategic sustainable solutions for the regions and the nations, the state members. But of course, I think it's important to hear from Bruno Zambardino, who is our representative of the Minister of Culture, head of the EU Affairs, Cinema and Images for training, school plans, and institutional coordination in Italy. So I really am curious to see what Bruno has to give us as an update, not only because we are learning that the lingua franca sometimes comes from this connection with various experiences, as Lauriane said, but also from starting to collect information that can be shared and compared among European state members. Bruno, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nevina. Do you hear me?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks you for this kind invitation. All the best for Trieste Film Festival. It's really a pity not to be there live in presence.
We're going to catch up soon.
Yes, very soon. I think it is a very stimulating topic because it crosses various aspects such as technological innovation, scientific research and measurement, but also social aspects. And the reason why I'm here is because recently I was involved in a table promoted not by our Ministry of Culture, but the Ministry of Ecological Transition, in order to elaborate sharing a protocol with public and private stakeholders to guarantee minimum environmental sustainability criteria, so-called CAM, Criteri Ambientali Minimi. Because this topic is requested precisely by Resilience and Recovery National Plan. So I listened with very interested the words of Lauriane from European Commission, and I totally agree because the pandemic has accelerated the process of heightening the environment awareness, which began several years ago and unfolds not only in various aspects of daily life, but also in our sector with cultural events, film festival, but also production increasingly adopting sustainable practices on set or places, such as the use of local resources, reduction of emissions and recycling. And 2 weeks ago, I took part to the first audiovisual media group of European Council in Brussels under the French presidency semester. And on the occasion, Lucia Recalde, the head of Creative Europe, informed about the dialogue and about these very ambitious goals of a technical expert group that will establish common shared indicators to measure the carbon footprint of audiovisual events. I think this is a very important goal, the need of harmonization. Lucia made a very simple example of fragmentation in this topic. Some measurement tests of Paris-New York travel have been carried out, and each resulting in different outputs. This is why it's very important this technical working group in order to have more harmonization at a European level. From our national perspective, Italy is making improvements in this area, also by looking at the experience and studies carried out in other countries, but also in some of our regions. Trentino and Sardinia, for instance, are our best practice at the European level. At DG Cinema and Audiovisual, from our Minister of Culture, starting from 2 years ago, we have included a criterion dedicated to environment sustainability in the annual call for selective contribution to production. And the next step could be to extend this kind of rewarding also for cultural promotion and film festival public contribution. So at this moment, only for selective contribution to production audiovisual films, we provide this provides for bonuses. We grant up to 4 more points in the total qualified certified entities. So this is the first sign of attention by our ministry, but obviously need to be improved. And at the moment, we are studying a sort of rewarding also for festival by identifying specific sub-criterion within the macro indicator of the quality and innovation of the project. Precisely on this point, as I said before, currently we are working with the Minister of Ecological Transition with an open table for approval at the end of this year, a specific protocol for festival events and cultural events. The aim is, of course, to improve sustainability cultural events through the inclusion of social and environmental criteria in public procurement. And the first protocol is on events, and after this first protocol, we have to work also on production field, because it's very important to not have common criteria in these two fields, because there are a lot of differences. In this table, there are Italian film commissions, Luca Ferrario in particular, also AFIC, the Association of Italian Film Festival. Laura Zumiani is with us, but also Cinemabiente and other ministries and other very important entities. So like ARPA, ISPRA, ANCI is very important territorial and national authorities involved in the sharing this very important protocol. And the document lists many operation areas. For instance, energy savings and efficiency, the transport, the mobility, the choice of materials, food and catering, the waste management, accessibility, and last but not least, reporting and communication about this kind of very important criteria. So at the end of this year, we come with the approval of this very important protocol. And we know that AFIC has already sent some comments on this draft document because there are some criticalities. While in general point of view, we appreciate very well the effort to raise the bar in terms of sustainability. And after me, I think Laura can go into more details and maybe update us on the also very important guidelines that the association intends to adopt in the coming days. But the most important element in the various intervention in this table is caution in imposing excessive burdens on the organization bodies, because there are criteria that can become mandatory in tenders with suppliers. So this is a very delicate question. In our sector, as you know, the most of the bodies and associations that organize festivals are very small in size. So that would hardly meet all the criteria, and furthermore, the certification have a cost. So I think I am very optimistic about the Minister of Ecological Transition is willing to meet these particular needs. And I think it's very important in this phase, in this process, to introduce a certain degree of flexibility. After all, we are talking about the minimum criteria. So this is the experience in this moment for a public national institution, and I am very interested to listen the best practice in Italian and abroad in order to study and analyze this very important progress to this topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bruno. This is excellent also because let's keep in mind when the Minister of Culture in Italy had started the first research on sustainability, they were actually analyzing jazz festival and other events that were not directly connected to the moving image, but then slowly led into the awareness that a lot of work had been done locally or individually by producers or regions that were in a way following the rules more tightly, starting to look at what was coming next. And with the Minister of Ecological Transition, there is an ongoing dialogue, not only in the definition of the protocol and these rules, but also in the truth engagement, what you listed at the end of the checklist, the issue of communicating not only the problems as it's happening with global warming and global emergency, but on the issue of communicating the solutions, or at least making the discussion through the scientific community more accessible, more normalized and available for everybody. And I think this is where we have a lot to discuss here, because of course, that is the area where the two lines on screen and off screen connect. And that's why it's crucial. And I really thank Chiara Valenti Omero, the president of the Italian Association of the Italian Film Festivals, and Laura Zumiani, board member of the association, are taking the step. I think it's not an accident that also Laura is in Trento, one of the regions that in Italy started, let's keep in mind, not only the application of the Green Protocol in the movie sets, we did it really in different regions, but Trentino has been developing a very strong awareness along the architects and the bioarchitects and all the construction work. So they created actually the first guidelines in the public, housing and public schools, and the system from architecture and urban studies moved slowly towards a more organic relationship within the community. So, Laura, the floor is yours. Tell us what is the Association of Italian Film Festival is doing, and why are you guys leading the game on sustainability in public events?
Thank you, Nevina, and good afternoon, everybody. And thank you, of course, Trieste Film Festival and Creative Europe Desk. It's a pleasure to be here. And also as AFIC, it's a very pleasure to take part in this industry panel. AFIC is the Association of the Italian Film Festival, and since 2003 brings together festivals from all over Italy, from Sicily to Trentino, from Friuli Venezia Giulia to Sardinia, and emerging and well-known festival, but united by the desire to be together and to share good practices and useful experiences. That was during the pandemic period, for example, when we worked together regarding the use of technologies and platforms, and it is now with this project, with the Green Festival project. So as we all know, 2021 was a very important year in terms of global action to combat climate change, and the European film industry had shown itself to be aware of the responsibility of the whole sector in supporting green management. So from the green film productions to green cinemas and to green film festivals, of course. So AFIC has embraced its members' interest in sustainable events, promoting the Green Festival project and setting up the Green Festival working group composed by festival members. As I said, to share good practice and also to encourage other festivals in practicing sustainable solutions. Our work began with mapping of the actions that the Italian institutions, so region and municipalities have implemented in the last few years in order to understand the existing situation and then immediately promote good practice underway in Italy, but also in the international scene. The first was the Trentino Eco-Event Policy Document, that is let's say, the mother of the green film, but also, as I said, international, like Riga International Short Policy Document. And now, may I share my desktop? So I'll show you our presentation. Thank you. Okay. Wait. Sorry. Okay.
We can see it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. Can you see it? Yes. Can you also hear me? That's perfect. Okay. Perfect. So, as I said, driven by the desire to provide like a concrete and immediate response to the request for guideline, the project we are working on has been divided into successive steps in terms of planning and also scheduling. The first will conclude at the end of February 2022 with the promotion of a Green Festival guide. This will be a practical operational tool with precise recommendation divided into thematic areas, which festival organizer will be able to draw on to guide their activities and reduce the environmental impact of their events, of course. And the second is intended to lead to a Green Festival protocol. Bruno has already mentioned that work we did together, of course, supervised by AFIC and agreed with the Italian Ministry of Culture and the Italian Ministry of Ecological Transition. And again, as Bruno said, which will recognize the commitment of the festival adopting it following an implementation audit. So that's important, and it is not in the CAM criteria. So that's one of the critiques that we did to this document. The next act in our project was to define some general principle keywords on our approach. So the first is dialogue with national institutions and local communities. So establishing a direct line of communication with national and local institutions and bodies to find out about their sustainability plans in order to stimulate and facilitate a common path towards a more synergistic approach. Then change starts from the top and involves the whole organizations. So including sustainable objectives in the annual plan of the management board, raising awareness, and directing and training all the festival staff to behave in a sustainable way, taking on individual responsibilities before a collective one. Then communicating and promoting action in the field. So providing simple and clear information about sustainability policy, the concrete actions adopted before, during, and after the event. We really think that it's a direct commitment with the conviction that the ability of communicate and transmit good practice to the audiovisual system, but also to the audience, to the public, is our main goal. Then working together with other festivals, that's so important, and we saw it so many times, to share good practice, to resources, and also common project, to give greater force to the action in the field, and also to enable more widespread diffusion. Then assessing the environmental impact of the festival from the very beginning of planning. That means including assessment and analysis of the environmental impact of the different phases of implementation. Then reviewing the budget and redirecting expenditure toward more sustainable options. So in the phases of drawing up the budget, favoring more sustainable choice in different administrative areas, and choosing partners who are in line with current policy and pay attention to the environmental protections. So creating visibility by organizing events on issues related to sustainable development as an integral part of the festival programming, as we are doing now. So thank you again to Trieste Film Festival. Helping and encouraging directors to make the production greener, so supporting who do so, and during the festival promoting dedicated event for the film industry. And last but not least, avoiding greenwashing by putting into effect real, credible, and verifiable policy, along with a clear communications. So that's our general principle. The next step was to establish the thematic areas. Bruno Zambardino already mentioned that. In order to be able to offer a practical tool to make individual festival more ecological sustainable. So the thematic areas are sustainable mobility, sustainable energy consumption, printing materials, recycling installations, waste reduction and management, food sustainability, productions of gadgets, management of guests, social sustainability and environmental culture, and training and communication. So I will now provide some example of practical advice and solution to be found in our guideline. Let's start from sustainable mobility. So access to the festival location by public transport, on foot, by bicycle, or low environmental vehicle. Then offer financial incentives for participants using public transport. Use a festival car only if necessary. If so, it should be electric. Point out the options for the recharging electric vehicles near your locations. Work together with a bike rental service and make bike parking areas available for the festival. So provide also a place where it's easy and safe to leave bicycle and where it's possible to change if necessary. Provide clear information on the website and in the program. and then public transport links and map considered in the screening program. Then let's see what management of guests. So encourage guests to travel using transport such as train or buses, and do not take it for granted that the guest will prefer to travel by plane. So always ask which kind of transport guests would prefer and suggest more ecological options. Then invite guests and staff to move for transport in town, preferably on foot, by bicycle, or by public transport. For journey to and from the airport, encourage shared transport, and when possible, promoting car sharing and avoiding using car for a single guest. If two festivals are nearby, it may be possible to work together to rationalize guest mobility, so they can arrive by plane at one festival, then move to the other festival, and again by plane at home. To choose hotel eco-certified or and with your same sustainability value. Prepare a handbook for guests from outside the city with information about transport sustainability, transport, food, and other practical service. So I will give you another thematic area, like production of gadget. So produce useful and reusable gadget like pens, notebook, Macs, etc. Then produce merchandising with recyclable and recycled materials. Produce gadget and guest kit like bags, badge holder with generic branding. So namely not specific the current edition, so they can be offered from 1 year to the other, of course. Then introduce a delivery point of unwanted goods. Produce t-shirt using natural material, or even consider choosing stock of t-shirt like purchase from vintage store, for example, and branding them with a logo. So again, you can use it from 1 year to the other. Make use of local company to produce material. Transform old banner and poster into bags for guests, as the one you see in the picture. Consider the possibility of replacing plastic accreditation card with electronic cards or other activities. So let's see, printing material. So reduce the quantity of printed material, so aiming to combat paper wastage. For your printed material, use recycled and or certified ecological paper. Informative material that needs to be continually consulted should be printed on both sides of the paper. And then review your festival promotion campaign with targeted distribution of printed material, indicating the targets and the strategic point for distribution. Encourage digital formats for communication, information, and promotional material. Favor digital ticket that can be displayed on the mobile phone, and therefore offer visitors the chance to purchase ticket online. Last, recycling of installations. So all the festival installation, including physical support for communication, should ideally be reused from previous events. Use generic material not containing time and place indications, so encouraging recycling and storage of installation and material shared with organization of similar events. Again, share the material available with festival in the same geographic area, so they can be reused. And for floral display, stay, organizers should make use of local nurses favoring potting plants rather than cut flower compositions. So that are only some example of that we can find in our guideline. And if you are curious, I'll be here for more information. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Laura. This is fantastic, and actually it proves that it sounded, very articulated, but actually it's an incredibly easy to match checklist that doesn't dramatically change the budget, can actually, as we proved repeatedly in the production and in the production workflow and film sets, it actually makes interesting savings. And this has been so true on a lot of activities. I think many examples, many of you who are invited here can add to this list that the Italian Festival Association is starting to write down as the basic, like minimum standard. We can't go under these minimum criteria, like it happened with the checklist for the film sets. There is no more discussion that plastic is banned, and nobody dies if each crew members bring a bottle of, water that is not plastic and it can be filled directly from the public fountains or the water fountains on set. Guillaume Calop is going to tell us a lot about what has been done, being the general manager at Festival Les Arcs, because let's say, best practice work even better when there is a network that puts together very specific experiences that were sometimes developed locally, also through the integration of public institutions and private investors. Often the law comes after that the experience has proved a clear path of better solutions, very practical problem-solving strategies, and I would say even a more visionary approach to life and creative events. Am I right, Guillaume? What is your story?
Yeah, well, our story. So first, thank you very much for having me here. I'm very happy, and I wish I could be in Trieste, but c'est la vie. Hein? Yeah, so the story about Les Arcs. So Les Arcs is a festival that was set up for the first time in 2009, and we are, it's taking place at 2,000 meters high in the mountains in a ski resort in Savoie on the border of Italy. So nice neighbors. In 2019, well, we've always had this culture of being careful with what we do, but like, the common things like sorting our waste, having green electricity and things like that. But honestly, it seems that every efforts we would do, people wouldn't care that much. Until 2019, we had this feeling that after the European election, with the success of all the ecological parties, there was really something going on into the society, and people were really thinking that it's time to make a change, a real change. And so we came back with a real program on that, and we took advantage of the fact that we felt that we could have the institution and the public attention on what we could do. And so we made this exercise of thinking, okay, what is a film festival? Film festival is polluting, absolutely. I mean, there's no way you can avoid that, because you are bringing people by plane and then by car, especially when people are traveling to Geneva, and then there's two and a half hours to go to Les Arcs. It's a nightmare of everything we can, every effort you can do are just like, they don't mean anything when you take the plane. And so why should, at some point, why should we make a film festival? Is it really worth it? And then we thought, well, yeah, it's worth it, because culture is also part of the ecology, and meeting people in real life. And we all know that, because we can't meet in real. It's something that is very strong and that is very important, and that can make a difference. And so okay, we went a little further into getting better, like, Laura, everything you showed makes sense. And for example, we were like having these tote bags that we were giving out to everybody at the beginning of the festival, with a lot of brochures of gadgets and everything. And hey, take the bag. I don't know you, but every time I go in a film festival, I open the bag and I take out things and I trash them. All the flyers, and sometimes I keep a few things, but honestly, I trash everything. So now we say, do you want a tote bag? Do you want a catalog? Do you want some flyers? And people are just helping themselves, or we give them the catalogs. Because I mean, when I go to a festival, I don't take the catalogs anymore. everything is in PDF or searchable on the web. So things like that, that just make sense. And then of course, like giving access to water, unbottled water and things like that. And then we thought about one thing, is that the fact that a film festival is also has a power, actually. We have a power because we're in the film industry, and the film industry has a power on people. And so we thought that at some point, if we try to sensitize our public and our professionals, we can really make a difference. For example, we made some conferences on how to make greener shootings with Sequoia, you know, the French company that is specialized in that. And we did some roundtables on different subjects on that. And we did some discussions about the storytelling, because when you have I mean, we all have a film in mind that really changed our mind when you watch a film that is about environment and sustainability and a better future or a worse future. We all know that it really has an impact on people's mind. And so if in a film festival we can help this to happen and promote this type of films, maybe that can also make a difference. There's also, like, as in the product placement, if you put some ideas in a film, like people are not drinking in plastic bottles anymore, and people are drinking on tap, then well, okay, so this is not cool to have a plastic bottle, so maybe I will do the same. You know how people can get influenced by the type of publicity to consume. Maybe they can consume less also with the same type of using of messages. And also we did roundtables with the public. We did a special program of films that have an interesting storytelling, and awarded the film with a prize that would go to a non-profit association of their choice to help sustainability. And finally, last but not least, we did a roundtable between the festivals that were participating to Les Arcs. And we were like, okay, guys, what do you think? What shall we do? Shall we all ban plastic water? Shall we all try to lower the planes? Shall we oblige people to circulate with bicycle in the city, etc.? And one was raising the hand and was saying, well, well, I will say for Les Arcs, I cannot ban the plane. I mean, people are coming from all over Europe, and it's very difficult to do differently. We can really push people to come by train when they come from France, but from outside it's difficult. I mean, we're really in the mountains, and using bicycles, well, good luck. In December, in the winter, well, you can go with your skis from one theater to another, but only during the daytime. So there are many things that are doable in a place and not doable in another place. And there was, like, Sarajevo was telling us, we can sort all the waste, but at the end it will go all in the same place. So there is no use to sort waste, and there is no use to give vegetarian food. In Bosnia, everybody is eating meat. So you see, there are all differences. And so we thought a lot. We were helped with Sequoia again to think about how can we do like a charter for all the film festivals to really get involved and get better. And so we think of the following, which was each of us, we are going to monitor our consumptions, and we are going to just try to get better from one year to another. And so we needed a tool to do that, and to finance building this tool, etc. And then we thought about putting this as a project for the MIOB. So the MIOB is a group of European film festival, and Trieste is part of it. And we thought about getting financed by media. And so we got this finance, and so we're currently developing a platform where film festivals are going to be able monitor and to enter, like, okay, so this year we've made this amount of catalogs, so that's this amount of kilograms of papers. We've used this amount of liters of gas into our official cars, etc., etc. And so if you lower your catalogs, then you're going to lower from one year to another. If you are trying to find some other solutions like electric cars or bringing people by public transportation more, etc., you're going to lower, lower, lower. And from one year to another, you are going to, you commit to publish all your results to the public. And so the public is going to judge if you're really making an effort or not. And so that is our idea. And I think there are about 40 festivals that have committed to follow this charter as of today. So that is very encouraging. And I hope that more and more festivals, and I'm talking about big ones, I mean the Berlinale, Carlo Vivari, etc., and of course all the MIOB festival. So that should be very interesting. And so we are going to focus on things that are easy to monitor, like the wastes, like for example in Les Arcs at the catering we had like all the food in plastic things, and we've banned all this, and we're working with a restaurant which is working with local products, and so that's very easy, and that's actually even tasting better. And things like energy, of course, and the food, and putting more vegetarian food and things like that, and that goes also with the waste, wasting less food, and of course the transportation. So and there are going to be some levels, like for example, you can easily monitor your all year long electricity consumption, but the electricity used by the theater or by some venues, etc., it's more complicated. So you're going to do it maybe in a year 2 or year 3, etc. And so that's the whole idea, and we have good hopes that that it will help at least. If not getting better very quick, to have all these things in mind, and to try to challenge that each festival is going to challenge himself to just try to get better, and when you change yourself, you're going to tell your team, you're going to tell your public, please make have this in mind, that all these things are important because we want to get better. And I think that's a good way to try to be better each other every year. Voila.
I think, Guillaume, you're in great company, not only because, of course, I think the community is really having a very strong and significant response. We were looking at the results that were presented months ago by the German community, for instance, and Green Film Shooting, which has been a magazine that led the way in Europe, probably by being at Berlinale, so starting the year with the presentation of best practice in each magazine issued yearly. But we saw that, for instance, in German theaters, the restoration of the buildings had actually led to open up with the public investment, of course, but also with the participation of the audience member, for instance, with the elimination of the cups, the plastic cups, and people now regularly in the so-called green cinemas go with their own handy cup, like their own cup taken from home, which has also changed the level of, symmetrical reciprocity, because suddenly you're not going in another place, but you're like reaching home. You know what I mean? It's like one of the basic exercises that actors do on personalize the production place. The set is not a set, but becomes your house, the place where you actually can share your significant moral compass. And I think that if we give up schizophrenia and we get into a more organic position, it's exactly what you said. Now, of course, in a big city, I think like London or Milan, it's complicated to just organize bike rentals, etc. And it's better, like it has been proved in many cities, to, improve the public transportation use as a normal commodity. Nonetheless, we saw, I think, festivals like Locarno, for instance, use the possibility of encouraging new sponsors to join the game. And that, I think, it's a great point that Laura pointed out in her presentation. We have to avoid greenwashing, not demonizing the brands or the investors, because they actually could be, let me say, educated to a more, organic development of their sustainability plans, not because they're just very fashionable at the moment, but because they're developed within a community of citizens and creatives that like to work together more organically. And this, of course, leads us directly in the hands of Lia Furxhi, that is a fantastic representative of one of the leading game player for what is on screen. Cinemabiente, as you all know, is the film festival that was founded by Gaetano Capizzi, who is still also the artistic director. Lia is the programmer of the festival, but that was like the main experience of, yes, environment, and I would say human rights and even human advocacy for the environment can become extremely sexy, unfortunately very dramatic more often, but we're going to try to make it even fun. The years of not only projections, but conferences, workshops, bike sharing, new ways of creating you were listing them, Laura, merchandising fantasies, and whatever we can list has been tested in Torino, thanks to Cinemabiente. And of course, I am so convinced that the idea that they had to create a European network of green festivals was one of the initial seeds of this new trend that we see is now very common and very shared. But at the beginning, it was authentic pioneering work. So please, Lia, tell us where you're at now and what is awaiting next. And thank you for being with us.
Thanks, everyone, for having Cinemabiente here. Well, the checklist, I was feeling like listening to all the list that Laura just told us. It was like, yes, we have tested, yes, we have tested, yes, we have tested. Okay, this could be an interesting topic. Yeah. I mean, Cinemabiente was born in 1998, so we are like at the
growing up well, my darling.
Yeah. So, ready for retiring.
No, never say that. Never.
No, I mean, and it was born just right after the Kyoto Protocol, with really the mission of spreading the environmental awareness in the public toward the citizen. So it would have been really stupid to select environmental film and not act in environmental sustainability in doing the festival. So we have always worked trying to be as sustainable as possible. So it's not like we know that Anthropocene era, it's really dramatic and we have to act now. It's 24 years that we are trying to do our best to organize Cinemabiente in the more sustainable possible way. We have really tested a lot of all the good practices that has been presented right after my intervention. I mean, we have tried with all the green procurement acquisition for everything is needed, from the lead-free ink for the typographic, from the certificated recycled papers. we have banned plastics, single-use plastics since 15 years ago. We've removed from the cinema the distributors of the beverage, and we install the public water fontaine to fill up your glasses that you are taking from home to all the in all the cinemas we are showing films. We have really touched and thought about all the spectrum of topics around sustainability events. I mean, our red carpet is for filmmakers, for talents, but it's almost for environmental activists, scientists, and people who brings information. Because we have really noticed that our public is willing to find information about good practices and what's happening in the world. I mean, in the first 15 years, the films we selected were almost always the story of something that it was going really bad. It was a denounce something that wasn't environmental good for the planet. We have noticed that really our audience is really looking for films that are telling also really easy good practices that can be adopted at home. So we have really those two topics, really, let's say, huge topics, the denounce and the good practice and the innovation in technologies. So we have realized that people are really looking for information, and what we are trying to do is just to show them, to let them watching good films with interesting and good topics. I mean, we are always have like a cinematic eye when we select film, because we are not coming from the environmental fields. We are working at the festival. We are coming from the cinema studies and things like that. So we enjoy to offer to the public good films on good topics. And we have really tested a lot of all these good practice, and the final things is that we think that the real strong force we have as festival is that we can communicate. We can communicate, and it's easier. For example, we do a lot of work with school. It's easier to make high school students watching a film than making them reading an essay on waste reducing or whatever. They feel like more involved if you are just showing them films. And it's easier to start a debate because they are really involved by the film. And at the end, I mean, we are trying all year round to be sustainable in our office during the organization of the festival. And we know that as far as we can go, we can't be the greener at top. So in 2009, we made the University of Engineering of Torino calculated for 1 year round our carbon footprint. So for 1 year, we have been collecting all our electrical bills in the office. We made the cinemas where we are organizing the festival. So we have really collected a lot of data, and we have found out a sponsor that it's like more than 15 years that it's compensate our CO2 emission during 1 year of organizing and having the festival. And that's it.
Well, that's a lot. That's not only that's it. And I think that you just nailed so many points, Lia. Thank you. It has been an ongoing struggle. How do we reach out to the audience without making, as usual, everybody feels so unable to do anything? How can we actually make the change more accessible and easy and not just feel this huge sense of guilt and responsibility that we know happened in the gigantic humanitarian crisis, happened in the massive reorganization even of the campaigns in the UN for the UNICEF, the FAO strategies. Everybody had to shift from just representing the drama and the scare and the apocalyptic situation that honestly we know we are in, but let's try to use the power and rhetoric of poetry, arts, etc., to in a way build and move towards positivity without feeling just easy brainwashing or whatever we can call a lightheaded attitude, but considering the possibility that I keep pointing out exists thanks to the connection with the scientific community, with the proper use of information and social media and whatever can go against fake news, and try to push a stronger sense of balance between beauty and truth, which is what has made cinema such a unique art for the world. I think that it was very interesting also, Lia, to hear that this issue and this power of the networking has been true. We saw it today represented in every presentation, and it's so true that we belong to networks, so we take this for granted. But let me tell to every single guest that is here or that is listening through the Facebook Live page, there is never enough networking. Let's do real, constant and consistent sharing of experiences, because the attitude of problem solving evolves by inspiring even those that got it right. But it's really about sharing and making it more consistent. I was also very impressed when you mentioned the Kyoto Protocol. It's incredible how human beings have to either face a massive tragedy. I say this because, for instance, in Sardinia, we had the deaths in November of 2013 of the so-called Cleopatra cyclone. And for the first time, the land that was paradise for holidays turned into a death place for many, way too many. And so a few years later, in February 2015, we connected with all the European film commissions and film agencies that were already developing a strategy for greening the industry. But at the time, it was really more protocol set rules, and we connected. I remember inviting every Italian film commission. Only Pindemont had started something, and we said, okay, so what have you guys done to make it happen? How can we face it? And I remember that when we were organizing that event, what came out was that there was a strong network of entrepreneurs and local investors, even in the artisanal world and in the food and wine industry. They were doing incredible innovative things and nobody knew about it. So I'm saying this because, we hear these checklists, we hear these experiments and tests that people have done. But as Lauriane said, there is never going to be one solution. But there are already many solutions where you live that you may not know about, that you may not have connected directly with. And that's why I think the experiences that we are sharing today are just the initial, top of the iceberg of so much more that each of us can develop locally. We had a few months ago a meeting where we discovered that this idea that now we talk as evidently obvious, like, production design being destroyed, and instead of being shredded, just being rebuilt and redesigned by the greatest designers that are often the production designers, and turned into, shelves for public libraries. And simple solutions like that. Or the vintage t-shirts that Laura was suggesting. In some cases, people didn't even know that there were actual young companies or co-ops that were recycling fabrics, doing incredible work already, but they were just working with some other sector. So guys, please just look around. And in these, I think that we can definitely receive by Marie of We Love Green, another great case of examples, because a lot is happening, and a lot is about looking around and who is surrounding you. What are the communities that are already doing some work? Marie, can you tell us a little bit about your amazing work with We Love Green, and welcome with us.
Hi, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here and have the possibility to present We Love Green, but a more Green Europe experience, a project co-funded by the European Commission by Creative Europe program. And so, to begin, maybe it's important to explain the context and why and how we built this project, Green Europe experience. Obviously, as most of you mentioned since the beginning of this panel, climate change and environmental degradation are two of the biggest challenges of our time. And in the field of culture, in the field of culture, most of music and art festivals have a major impact on the environment. So we think that we really need to rethink the production model and design of these events and create like the festival future. And that is what Green Europe experience is about. So Green Europe experience, called GEX as well, it's like 6 European partners who join their forces to create, do and review a sustainable production and evaluation model for music and art festival. So we are 6 partners. We are 4 major European festivals. So we have Boom Festival in Portugal. We have Jour Festival in Belgium. We have Poda Festival in Slovakia and We Love Green in France. And we have also 2 NGOs. A Greener Festival is a non-profit company committed to helping events, festivals, and venues around the world to become more sustainable and to reduce environmental impacts. And we have Go Group in Germany, is an independent pan-European and cross-industry think tank to inspire people in the music festival and event industry in general to run their operation greener and more sustainable and more responsible. So what is GEX concretely? GEX is a living lab based on co-creation, mentoring, skills building between these 6 partners and their teams, focus on 2 major topics in festival production, scenography and food, and based on circular economy. So during years, thanks to our collaboration we will share unique knowledge with our team, local suppliers and stakeholders to make an eco-designed scenography and sustainable food and to make it the norm in festivals in Europe. This is the idea of GEX. And so we can ask why scenography and why food? Because for us, scenography is the image of a festival. It includes like all the decoration, art installation, design. It's an optimal area to raise curiosity and awareness around environmental issue among festival goers. So GEX's ambition is to make scenography a way to test innovation with the principle of the circular economy by promoting the reuse of waste materials, the reduction of single-use materials, obviously, and the recycling to create the scenography artwork. And it's a place where fantasy meets ecological challenge through a special art form that allow artists as well to express their creativity in innovative ways. Regarding food aspect, for us, it's like the taste of our commitments. And the food court is a place where the festival goers can start their ecological practices, but it also represents a huge portion of our carbon footprints in festivals. So Jack's ambition about food will be like a way to innovate in the production of a sustainable offer made with less impacts. Our goal is to put back at the center of food management the local suppliers, seasonals, and bioproducts. And finally, food is a delicious weapon to spread best practices and encourage festival goers eating vegetarian, using gourds for drink, or sorting their waste. So to be like, our to-do list will be like, Jax use the living like method based on co-creation, mentoring skills, building between the 6 partners and their teams. It's a collaborative process which includes professional, students, stakeholders, and experts. With Jax, we will write 2 specific chapters based on circular economy for the 2 main topics, so one for scenography and one for food. We will create and develop analysis tools, evaluation grids, survey dedicated to the project and dedicated to the scenography and food for like events and festival in general. We will facilitate and implement 7 workshops in the 4 festival where the 6 partners will create, test, and assess their innovation in scenography and food. And finally, we will produce a method, a manual for the 2 main issues of the project for the improvement of the festival and event industry.
And don't forget, I will put it in the shared screen. You guys have this great motto, think globally, act locally, and change collectively, which I think it's a great, great invitation for all of us now that we have had so many stories and so many solutions to shared problems. Now I think it's time to open up to questions because, of course, there is a lot on the plate. There has been a lot to discuss and to add. So please, opening from the guest speakers to the audience, what is coming out of this world of possibilities? Are you guys feeling more engaged for your own events and programs to turn, I would say, not even the event into a green event, but to take very active steps to start measuring what can be done, what you plan to do? Do you want to get a verification of your status and see how that can be improved and actually track your evolution? Or what are the questions that we didn't treat and we didn't talk about are coming to your mind? We have had and seen so many different solutions that, as you see, involve strong motivation, clear connection to other people and other institutions and other entities, because it's evident that we are fanatics of networking and fanatics of sharing. But I think, it seems very obvious because we're Europeans, but it is clear that now as never before, nobody can work alone on this. And I think COVID was a just massive global reminder of how these things are deeply connected, and there is no more time for who arrives first. What's clear is that nobody must avoid it. So I clearly, want to provoke some questions from the audience. So if you have questions, please raise your hand, and you can put the little hand on on your screen, or you can actually switch on the camera and just powwow, show us what you want to tell us. And meanwhile, I ask our speakers to start thinking about what is missing on the table? What in our game has not yet been pulled out from a magic hat? And this discussion has made you think, wait a minute, I think there is still an ingredient that we didn't talk about. So who wants to jump in first? I see Laura is still with us, and there is Martina Starace that wants to ask. Martina, please. Make the questions. Okay, if you can switch on your camera, we would love to see you.
I don't have the camera, sorry.
No problem.
Okay, it's broken. Okay, so thank you so much for giving me the floor. I have few questions. First of all, I'm new for APA. It's my 7th month, so I'm still working and learning, and honestly I have learned a lot this afternoon with you, so thank you very much for all the information. And I would like to know, I have 3 questions. First one, is there something, I don't know, some certification a festival can get to be considered green from, I don't know, the audience? The second question is which kind of, I don't know, conditions or certification is possible to obtain and to communicate to the public? And the third question is, are there, I don't know, in the future, for example, for Trentino region, some new announcement, bandi, I don't know how to say, maybe bandi funds, public funds, in terms of green for the festivals? I don't know if I was clear.
I think
maybe,
your questions
yes.
are totally important. So certification, who wants to give an answer on that? There are solutions, some are regional, some are national, but I'm not sure that we all have the same answer. So Laura, do you want to jump on these with the National Association?
Maybe for Italy.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Actually, not yet in Italy. So there are many, what I said at the beginning. So the first act was to try to mapping the action that the Italian local authorities have done in this last few years, but there is no, so there are some cases regional, but not like a national protocol or guide. That's what we are working on. So we will be at the end of February 2022, we will promote our guide. That is not a protocol, but is a guide, so with suggestion. And we hope we will have the protocol until the end of this year.
Okay. So there is not a specific certification. Maybe there will be
actually there's an international certifications that ISO 2021, that is the international certification. So there are agencies that you can apply. You have to ask to this agency, and so they will help you to have this certification.
Okay,
that
to be green.
An European certification, and you can have it, but it's quite expensive. So that's why we are working on the guideline.
Okay, I see. And this is to be certificated as green, right?
Sorry?
This will be to be certificated as green.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, and regarding the Trentino region, we have like the Trentino Film Commission has the green film, and so but it's for productions, not for festival. And so we have like a local how do you say, a local policy document. But only for local festival. I said, because I represented Trentino Film Festival, so Trentino has a local policy document, and if you apply, there are some rules, and then you're gonna have a grant from the autonomous province of Trentino. But it's a local. There are other in other regions. So if you have more specific questions, so we can talk. When you want.
Okay.
Thank you,
so
Laura.
much.
And I don't know if some of our guests want to add something, but just keep in mind that a lot of programs that were financed through the Horizon and the Interreg programs of the EU actually financed a specific certification, often coming from either research centers, sometimes based within university center research, or sometimes within scientific research centers. And in other cases, there were we saw practices of, as Laura was explaining, regional government where the environmental ministry and office has developed specific guidelines that then can lead to a certified approval, document that, though, as we said, may not have naturally been generated for events, but could be extended to events. So you really have to look at the variety of situations. And I think what also we were discussing at the very beginning with Lauriane, there is a need of making these, certifications and labels more, extended and more comparable. Otherwise, they're just pins in the jackets or logos in the posters, and we don't want that to be true. Any other question, guys? I know that there are a lot of curiosities pending, and meanwhile, I ask, of course, Guillaume, Lia, and Marie, Laura, what are we missing?
Sorry, maybe I just lost. And for what concerns announcements or funds concerning green funds, I don't know, publication of funds on website, I don't know, maybe Europa Creativa, just to get money to be.
Okay, so I don't know if Silvia Sandrone wants to jump on board on that. I know that there is, for instance, at the moment we have a Minister of Transition, Ecological Transition, a lot of competitions ongoing for instance, competitions on photography, on creative art, on screenwriting, dedicated to the environment. I don't have at the moment the certainty that they're going to put out a call as Minister of the Ecological Transition, a call for green events, but they're working on these basic guidelines, as Laura and Bruno Zambardino were explaining. There is a cohesion within different ministers in Italy to work on a shared, common checklist for that. Laura, I don't know, Silvia, maybe is there something coming up from the Creative Europe program that we don't know yet of, and you can quietly tell us something about?
Yeah, well, in fact, there's no really a direct fund for this. I mean, this is a priority which is reflected in each call proposal. So stakeholders who are applying for media or cultural support in Creative Europe are asked, of course, to have really good strategies for the greening of the industry, but maybe it will come probably also in the future, maybe in other also general direction, not only in regarding Creative Europe. But yeah, we will be in touch with Martina if she will want to know more.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm new. That's why I'm asking. Thank you so much for giving me the floor.
No, Martina, also keep in mind that there are a lot of calls that are going to be related to the regional strategic plans for the environment that are directly connected with a new wave of EU funds arriving at the regional level. And of course, the recovery and the resilience strategies that we are putting in place will have specific solutions, I would say region by region. Okay.
So we'll take a look at the Europa Creativa website.
And take a look also at your regional website, because they're going to definitely be popping up in the next months.
Okay, thank you so much.
So other questions, guys? I'm sure there are some. I know time's up, I know, but please give us some last illuminating thoughts. Bruno Zambardino, Guillaume, come on. Monica, what is the missing ingredient that we can all put our heads and fantasize upon? What did we didn't discuss? And what can we bring to the table for the next roundtable on sustainability, environment, and film festivals and creative events? Please. Who wants to take it?
If I may say something.
Sure.
Listening to all the panelists, one of the key elements that have popped up is the word communication. So in order to make people sensitive about this topic, the communication is so important. So I guess that maybe we should organize a panel on how to communicate the topic of sustainability, maybe. I don't know. I think that we have to learn a lot as a Trieste Film Festival on how to communicate, that we are walking on this path because we have been doing a lot, but we are not so good in communicating this. So it's important also to tell the audience that we are walking and working on this a lot in order to make everybody more aware that this is a key topic now. But I don't know if the other panelists agree on this.
Monica, I think you nailed it, and this is true also for the ministers. I mean, that's part of the main challenge, is how to communicate what has been done and what has to be done. So absolutely, the reason why they're making so many calls, we just launched a screenplay for short films, TV series, and feature films on that for the Minister of the Ecological Transition, because there is a need of content. Vai, Bruno, yes.
No, just to invite all the audience also to analyze and read the Cineregio report.
Thank you for mentioning it.
Yes, the last report is the last year, but it's very, very deeply communication tool about best practices. So it's I thought it's very interesting. And if I may, but on the production field, I have an important news, because a few days ago, we at the Ministry of Culture, we received the official validation of the Trentino Green Film Protocol on the production. This validation comes from ISPRA. ISPRA is the Higher Institute for Environment Protection and Research. So I think it's a very important step in order to have to achieve a national recognition after the Italian Film Commission recognition of this very important protocol.
Let me be a little bit even more specific. I'm proud of this. You mentioned Cineregio, that is the network of the European regional funds dedicated to the audiovisual. There has been the creation of a subgroup since 2012. And the work has been shifted, of course, from region to region, with an exchange that started incredibly strongly from Hamburg and from France, where EcoProd has been one of the main cases of a combination of the ministerial support, the entrepreneurs, and the coordination with every single unity and actor of the industry. At the same time, I just put you on the list of the, of course, the website of Cineregio, so you can look at the various reports, and it's very interesting to see how much every 2 years the evolution of the report shows an engage and an increase in the engagement. Even the European network of film commissions have taken a stand, and now we are all signing a manifesto. I didn't want to sound so pro-film commission, but actually a lot of the work comes from the public bodies that are there to coordinate as much as possible the interaction between public investment and the industry. And we are proud that in Europe, this is really becoming the game changer on a lot of ways, including the possibility to start regionally, test some practices, and then propose them, like it happened in Italy, to the minister. Because if it works in regions so different like Sardinia, Trentino, and Piedmont, it means it can work everywhere in the country, made the proper differences. And I think that each of you represents different European regions, and you know how crucial, as Guillaume was telling us, that the community is involved in this process. It cannot just come from above, like it happened with the recycle and the waste management in each home. It has to be shared and experienced and discussed as much as possible, and then made mandatory if there is not the fastest response. Time is really ticking. There is not a lot of time to make this planet more protected and feel it as our home and not just a commodity that we can replace easily. I would really open to the very last question or the very last comment. Meanwhile, Guillaume has also put, please check it, the Green Charter for Film Festivals, the link that shows you some of what has been done. I'm sure that Silvia Sandrone and the team of Europa Creativa will constantly update in the newsletter informations and updates on these. We know that we didn't mention, but there is also an engagement of Eurimage on this front, like it was a strong engagement on the diversity and inclusion topic. I think that we are all definitely booked for the next edition of the Trieste Film Festival in Trieste for next year. Fingers crossed. And absolutely, Monica, right? We're going to be there. And for now, I think we're all going to meet in a few weeks at the wonderful Zoom platform of Berlinale for the next edition of the market, which is still going to be in squares and online. But I think that with all the people that are attending today, we hope to receive great invitations in amazing location, starting from Les Arcs, to meet and catch up for our next improvement. So I would say, Monica, you close. This is your home. Please,
okay,
let us go home.
Thank you so much to all the attendees, to the panelists, to Nevina. You are amazing.
I just love it.
Thank you so much. We will be waiting for you next year here in January 2023 with another panel on this topic in person. And okay, enjoy your night. Thank you.
And please spread the word, put the sustainable development goals as much as you can in your communication, organize with the UN. They're totally available. There are working groups that are spreading as much as possible. These are not only 17 nice, cute colors. These are commitment, these are actions, and we can really make the difference this time.
Thank you.
I also want to say goodbye and thank you to all the participants and to the guests. And just to answer to your invite for something that we should discuss in the next panel. I think that also we should erase the problem of what's the climate impact of digital technology, which is also an issue. So I also invite participants to give us input and their comments for any other panel they would like to assist. And thank you again to everyone, and see you soon, hope.
Thank you, Silvia, and thank you, Creative Europe.
And thank you to my, sorry, I forgot to thank you, Francesca and Sara, my colleagues at the Torino Media Office. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. See you very soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.